Now, we've already touched on the topic of access, and that, of course, is something that many, if not everybody in the community feels really strongly about. And that is exactly why the organization Life for a Child is so beloved and respected in the community. And I'm really, really happy to welcome Emma Clapman of Life for a Child back to the stage to give us a bit of an update on the work that Life for a Child do.
Hi, Steffi. So
Hi,
nice
Emma.
to see you. I think this is now my 4th doc day, but every year that goes by, it still feels incredibly new and newer somehow.
I'll take that as a compliment, so that we try to make it different every time and there's different stories. But you also make it different every time you come, because you have updates always. There's always something new to share about Life for a Child. But before we dive into that, tell us a little bit about your position there and how you got into working with Life for a Child.
Sure. Yeah, sure. It's always really nice to touch on kind of like the personal aspect, because sometimes I feel like I live a little bit of a double life, working with diabetes and also having diabetes myself. I'm sure, we all, can relate in some way in this community. To not being able really to turn the diabetes tap off. But I think at least for me, it's not a tap I do want to turn off. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 7 years old. So I've just passed 25 years of living with type 1 diabetes myself.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, a big milestone for me and my family and my loved ones. But I was kind of always involved with diabetes advocacy in one way or another, kind of from the get-go, really, of being diagnosed with type 1. So I was diagnosed when I was 7, and I really kind of got started in, I don't know if you'd call it advocacy, and I will call it advocacy, actually, because I don't think there's one definition for advocacy. There's one kind of singular definition for advocacy, and there's no one way to do it either. And I think, at least to me, that's what makes diabetes advocacy so beautiful, is its lack to kind of universally define what it is. But when I was 9, I was really privileged to have a pediatric endocrinologist who was, I think, we're seeing more and more of this, but at the time, allies in the healthcare professional community were few and far between. I think now, with all of the incredible community advocacy work that has been done, around the Language Matters movement, to show healthcare professionals their responsibilities in terms of being allies for their patients. I think we're seeing that more and more now. But I had, as I mentioned, a pediatric ped endo who, I say that so many times, it gets jumbled. But I had a ped endo named Fran Kaufman, who was probably more or less a household name by now, who saw that I was, I guess, a precocious child and liked to speak her mind. And I started becoming involved in advocacy around increasing funding in the U.S. Congressional space around stem cell research. And in California, especially, there was a proposition on the ballot at the time about increasing funding for state-level investment in stem cell research to cure diabetes. And so that was kind of my advocacy when I was younger. I did, I was the National Youth Advocate for the American Diabetes Association, and then did some work with the California ADA chapter around the Safe at Schools initiative. And I took a step back from diabetes advocacy, which I think should be encouraged and is definitely allowed. But I had a colleague once say to me, like, that, community always finds you and you always come back to the community. And that is what I did after a number of years kind of away from the diabetes advocacy space. I kind of found the community in a passion I had for global health and also diabetes advocacy. I never knew, a world like that could exist that addressed that kind of intersection, but it absolutely exists. Unfortunately, the need, to put a lot of attention into that intersection around global access. And it's been 7 years of working with Life for a Child in global access and evidence-based research and translating that research into access initiatives and advocacy. And I really haven't looked back since. So it's, it's been wonderful. I said just when I came on that each year with dedoc feels newer and newer. But actually, the more I'm talking, overwhelmingly, it actually feels newer but more familiar. And it's like this circle is getting smaller and smaller. I feel fortunate to say that, I can call many of these advocate speakers friends, and fills me with such purpose in my life to be able to say that.
Yeah, I can absolutely relate to everything that you've been saying. And I can just give that back to you. I'm really glad to count you as one of our friends, and we're so happy to have you come back again and again to talk about Life for a Child. And it's really great to also now hear the background story and more about your personal relationship with advocacy. But please do share those updates now, because they're really exciting. There's really exciting stuff with Life for a Child happening. We want to hear all about that as well.
Sure, absolutely. It's a lot to share in probably 5 minutes. I'll keep it short and sweet. And everyone, please just take note of the email here in case anything I do bring up you'd like to chat through in more detail. So please, could you advance the slide? So today I'm going to be talking about just 2 program updates. The first is very much programmatic, and I'll focus on that now. So as some of you will know, Life for a Child is a program run out of Diabetes Australia, and we provide essential diabetes care to diabetes centers in low and middle income countries. And at the end of 2022, we were supporting 46,000 young people up to the age of 26 through 95 local partners in 45 countries across the globe. And remember, those are LMICs, low and middle income countries. This number is actually likely to be, can't give you an exact number of what this exact figure is today, but it will be higher than that 46,000. But to put that kind of number in the context of growth, we were supporting around 18,000 young people before we launched Vision 2030 just a couple of years ago. So a few years ago, we were supporting 18,000 young people, and now we're supporting 46,000 young people. And that number is projected to grow to 150,000 by 2030. But on the subject of Extend30, I want to talk to you about another aspect of program growth. And this number here might not be as high in quantity increase, but it is a type of support that I think probably each of us in our own way have reckoned with in our lives living with diabetes. So may I please have the next slide? So this is called Extend30, and we announced Extend30 in May of this year. And I just want to take this moment, to remind you that the support that Life for a Child provides has always been to provide partner centers with support for young people only up to the age of 26. And since its inception, Life for a Child has always made every endeavor to cement our program with equity at the forefront of our program decisions. But we've always been a program, and we've always been an NGO with finite resources. And so as to help as many globally in need, we've always limited our support to those age 25 and under, because for type 1 diabetes, we all know how important it is that people are given a good start in their diagnosis. And also this is to say that in some countries, not in all of the countries we support, but in some, there are health systems to fall back on that do provide aspects of diabetes care. And these may be at a subsidized cost, like in Rwanda, there's the Mutuelle de Santé. Human insulin is provided in that health system, but only is subsidized to 90% of the cost. And I think as well, it's important to point out that, you know, the aging out reckoning that we have faced is there's been something of a safety net with support from Insulin for Life, and to that extent has protected some coverage gaps. May have the next slide. But it's, you know, it's really important to say that not all countries have these fallback systems. You know, once you turn 26, it's not as if, you know, you've arrived to this place in your adulthood life where you can absolutely be sure to, you know, afford out-of-pocket payments for your diabetes care. And quite often, this is not the case that, you know, all or not even most young people with diabetes can afford, you know, enrollment in these schemes or those subsidized out-of-pocket payments. And so here comes Extend30. Extend30 was something that we had been grappling with for some years, but in May 2030, we were able to make that happen, only with the support of Eli Lilly and Direct Relief. And for now, Extend30 only applies to countries that are defined by the World Bank as low income. So we're not talking about low middle income or upper middle income. We're just talking about low income countries. And so the countries that will benefit from this Extend30 Life for a Child support mainly are situated in Africa. And these nations include Burundi, Burkina Faso, Central African Republic, DRC, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Madagascar, Mali, Rwanda, Sudan, Sierra Leone, also Syria, Togo, and Uganda. And what does this extra support means? It means an immediate 5,000 young people are now being supported who are between the ages of 26 and 30. So is it a perfect solution to reaching all people with diabetes, indiscriminate of their age and income World Bank classification? No, but I like to say that, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, and advocacy certainly isn't a mountain that you climb overnight. And I truly believe in my heart that this is chipping away at equity in terms of access to diabetes care. And then if I could have the next slide, this is just something so exciting for me and that our team is so passionate about that I'd like to share with you. And I see a couple of folks in the chat and in the participants that I will give a shout out to in a moment here. This is something very different to Extend30, and this is really about advocacy here. And especially if anyone is listening who is living in certain countries that will be clear in Latin America or Africa, please do give a listen to what I'm about to say. So may I have the next slide? So last week, Life for a Child announced a major new advocacy funding opportunity known as the Changemaker projects. And not only are these a funding opportunity, but they're also mentoring and networking opportunities combined kind of in a tripartite way. And I know I have limited time, so I'm just going to focus on the highlights here. Applications are now open, and you can see the link for this project at the bottom of the screen, www.lifeforachild.org/changemaker. These applications are open until the 30th of September. There will be 6 funding opportunities available, 3 to individuals affected by diabetes in Latin America, and 3 for those affected in Africa. And for each available funding opportunity, applicants can request up to $4,000 US. Selected changemakers will be announced on World Diabetes Day, just in November, and the one-year grant cycle will begin this December 2023 and will end in December 2024. So you can have a skim through what makes this opportunity unique, but just to touch on this, I think the really important bits are that it's not just, funding is really important, but it's not just about funding. A really key pillar of the Changemaker projects is that I'd mentioned a mentoring aspect of these projects, and I feel super, super proud to say that each Changemaker will be matched with a sole individual professional advocacy mentor that has regional and cultural relativity to the matched Changemaker. And I feel super honored to say that Tino Tenda will be one of the mentors. I know he's a dedoc voice, and also Paul Louis Funant will also be a mentor too, in addition to a few other incredible advocacy leaders in their own regional settings and globally. So may I have just the next slide? Yes, so just the quickest of notes on the eligibility criteria. I think the biggest thing to remember is that these funding opportunities are for individuals. Healthcare professionals can apply, but if we do get healthcare professional applications, what really needs to shine through is the community-centered approach. But really, these opportunities are for individuals affected by diabetes themselves, their family members, possibly, and particularly empathetic healthcare professionals who have ally relationships with the community. And if you click on the link that's in the bottom of the screen, please have a look at the countries that are eligible. I'd mentioned that the two regions that we will be funding are Latin America and Africa, but there are particular restrictions on this. Any selected Changemaker will need to be living in a country where Life for a Child is providing local support. Just the next slide, and that's the last one. So please just take a note of these key dates. Applications are now open. They close on September 30th. If you have any questions at all, please do get in touch with me. And we really look forward to your applications and building and strengthening advocacy capacity. And to just touch on, a personal belief of mine. In my view, it is a mistake to assume that we all have the same advocacy opportunities globally. And really the point of the Changemaker projects is to strengthen equity and fairness and strengthening those foundations in the countries we support, not so that every advocate gets the same thing, but getting advocates what they need in order to improve the situation in their setting. So thank you so much, and please do apply and be in touch if you have any questions at all.
Thank you, Emma. This is such an exciting update, both Extend30 as well as the Changemaker opportunity. I hope that you'll get a lot of applications from people watching right now and watching later on. Thanks so much for presenting this. But before you go, we have a little announcement to make, don't we? Because the Blue Balloon Challenge is coming back very soon. And for those who don't know this, in the past 2 years, our generous partner, Medtronic, has donated 200,000 euros to Life for a Child because of the fantastic support of the diabetes community. We can see some of them there. If there are any super fans who can't wait until October, which is when the Blue Balloon will fly again, there's an opportunity to register for kind of a sneak preview, we'll host an activation call on the 20th of September. You get a sneak preview, but you'll also hear more from Emma, so more about the Life for a Child organization, the work that they do. So we'll also share this link in the comments. Make sure to register if you want that sneak preview and want to get on board earlier, but otherwise stay tuned for October. That's when the blue balloon will fly again. I'm really excited. I hope Life for a Child is as well.
Oh, we are. Lots going on behind the scenes, many balloons being gathered, and just so grateful to this ever-expanding community. Thank you, Steffi.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Emma, for your time. We love having you here every time again. I hope to see you again soon, hopefully on World Diabetes Day to announce the Changemakers.